Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I would like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Marla Billinghurst. I will be chairing the panel this evening. With me on the panel today are Ms. Tracy Anderson and Ms. Kira Penner, and representing the City of Winnipeg is, Assessment Taxation Department is Mr. Kem Wong. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony, followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today, and the session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. This evening, we will be hearing items 4 and 8 on our docket. Ms. Sharma, please affirm the assessors and the applicant's testimony.
Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Kem Wong.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name. You're on mute.
Still on mute.
I was not on mute a while ago, but I guess it was
There.
muted for me. Yes, Henry DuPont, my name.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The first matter on the docket that we will be hearing this evening is number 4, 553 Wardlaw Avenue. Mr. Assessor, please proceed when you are ready.
Yes, thank you. The subject property is 553 Wardlaw Avenue. The file number is 24-1256. The roll number is 120-977-58700. The roll year is 2025, and the assessed value is $3,765,000. This is a residential apartment that's 3 stories high. It's built in 1914, and it has 30 suites with 18 outdoor parking stalls. On page 2 is the sales history for the subject property. It sold in 2018 for $3,650,000. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. On page 4 is our income valuation summary. We use average rents of $1,058 to get a potential income of $380,000. We use the 3.2% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $368,000, and we use the 46% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $195,000. Capped at 5.2%, we have an estimated market value of $3,765,000, or about $125,000 a unit, and $135 a square foot. On page 5 are some rent comparables showing that the rents that have been applied are in line with what's in the market. On page 6 is a summary of the income and expenses submitted by the owner. There is an error on the summary where the expenses for 2021 and 2022 have been flipped. So basically, the expenses for 2022 is $448,000, and the expenses for 2021 is $183,000. But for stabilizing their NOI, I would still use the $183,000. So the estimated NOI at the bottom at $182,000, it would remain the same. So you can see that the model NOI is a little bit higher than their actual estimated NOI at about $182,000. But I do feel that the model is fairly close. And when you look at the model's estimated value of $3,700,000, it is in line with what the property sold for in 2018 at $3.6 million. On page 7 is information on how we derived our cap rates. And on page 8 are some cap rate sales that range from 3.46% to 5.74%. On page 10 is the income statement supplied by the owner. So you can see in 2022, their expenses were $615,000 compared to their income of $365,000. That includes some amortization expense, but you can see that the repair and maintenance in 2022 is significantly higher than what it was in 2021 at $44,000 compared to $285,000. So they do appear to be including capital in their repair and maintenance figures. To conclude, I feel that their model, the model NOI at about $195,000 is a bit higher than what their actuals might indicate at about $182,000, but I feel it is fairly close and reasonable considering that it appears that some capital is included in their repair and maintenance numbers. The model cap rate is supported by market sales, and the overall value at $3,765,000 is supported by the subject's 2018 sale at $3,650,000. So the assessed value is well supported, and I ask that you maintain the assessed value at $3,765,000.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dupont, do you have any questions for Mr. Wong?
Yeah, the first question, the sale price. The sales questionnaire indicates it's not arm's length. Did you check that? Did you check the questionnaire on that?
I did not look at the questionnaire.
So you don't know whether it was arm's length or not?
I am not 100% sure. I would have to take a look. I mean, if you have that, we can maybe take a look at it.
No, okay. Your cap rate comparables, they're on page 8. Do you have any properties built pre-war, close to subject's age?
The only one that we have there is on 677 Maryland.
Now, would you agree that for that property, there's also a sale in March 2023, a much more current sale with the lower price?
I am not sure of the details of that sale, but my colleague seems to indicate that it was mostly there was a high level of vacancy at that time. So I'm not sure how good that information would be considering the high vacancy levels.
On page 7, your cap rates from the brokers. So the table, the second last category, the multifamily. So low rise, Colliers is 5 to 6, and Cushman is 5 to 5 3/4. So would you agree that this property being older should be higher than the 5, should be at the high end of the 5 to 6 range?
I don't know. I don't think I would agree with that just because sometimes some of the older buildings are bringing in some lower NOIs, and those lower NOIs would typically translate into lower cap rate calculations for sales. So I'm not sure if I would agree with that.
Well, sometimes things may change a little bit, yeah. But with all things being equal, a property that's built in 1914, would you not say the income stream is more risky than a property is built newer?
I'm not sure about the risk aspect of it, but like I said, like typically for properties that don't that are lower performing, maybe an older property, those usually result in lower NOIs and would usually translate into a lower cap rate calculation.
Okay, so your page 6, that's where you did the little exercise there. So you come to a revised net income of 182 instead of 195. Now, if you divide it by 5.2 cap, it would be 2,501,000. Would you agree with that?
I'll take your word for it.
So why would you not be using this revised figure? You're saying it's close enough, but it's 200,000 difference in value.
Yeah, the like I said, considering that the property had sold for 3,600,000 and the current assessed value is at 3,700,000, I'm not sure. It seems like at this point we might be splitting hairs a little bit, and so I felt that I feel that the current assessed value is a reasonable estimate.
So you relied on the sale price for not making a recommendation that the revised net income, but you did not check whether the sale is arm's length or not.
I'm not 100% certain of that.
That'd be the only questions I have.
Thank you very much. Ms. Anderson, do you have any questions?
Oh, yeah, I have no questions at this time, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Ms. Penner, do you have any questions?
No questions for me, thank you.
Let me just check my notes for 1 minute. Nope, okay, my question has been answered. Thank you. Mr. DuPont, please proceed with your presentation when you're ready.
Okay, so my report, you can look at the first page. You can see that there's no air conditioning in the windows or in the walls. So there's no air conditioning in this building. The bottom suites are half basement. And so we got some more photos of that also from all around the building, indicating there's no air conditioning there whatsoever. We can go to the appendix. You can see some of the what Sussex says about this. It's managed by Sussex, and this is their ad on page 23. Building amenities. doesn't say much, and then the description doesn't say much either. Charming heritage building. And then in Unit 5, B5, they have a photo for that, page 22, to have some photos. It's an older property, and you can see maybe the older fridge and stove. And the page 23, it shows the amenities for the unit. It says fridge and stove. It does not say dishwasher. It does not say air conditioning. So it has very little amenities shown, and then we have the close-up of some of those photos. We see some the cabinets look relatively older, and it appears to have changed the floor in the living room. Then page 26, the questionnaires, where they ask the description towards the top of the page of their property features as air conditioning. They have central AC or wall AC, and they have no check mark in there. Below that, they have a check mark for fridge and stove and no check mark for dishwasher. So, and their ads also indicate that there's no dishwasher because they're older properties. They didn't build them in those days, and they have no place to put them. So now we probably can go to the cap rate part. I have filed a separate cap rate report. We've all seen it, and I don't think we want to too much to do about it now, except we do have 677 Maryland. The assessor has that one, has the 2020 sale. We have the 2023 sale of March 2023, and the cap rate on that one is 7.11. So that there's only one old property cap rate that both of us have, but the city is using an older sale. But page 14, to make things a bit shorter, is that we can look at what the market reports are for Collier, CBRE, and Cushman, etc. And that gives us an idea. So most of the range that they have, it says minimum cap rate for Colliers and Cushman for low rise is 5. It goes 5 to 6. And by age, it should go, normally the cap rates that the assessor has and we have in the past have always varied by age category. So the assessor's got 5.2%. We have 5.75. Then the next page 15, it shows what our cap rates are. So if you look, the cap rates various age groups. The bottom is 2005 plus is 5%. The range, but the low end of the range is 5. And then we go up to the next age group, 1990, 2004, 5.25. The next age group, 5.5. Then by pre-1946 is 6.1 to 6.6. That is part of it, is that's what the assessor had for 2023 also. And the subject features itself has no air conditioning, 77% parking, and also no dishwasher on top of that. But we've used 5.75, so we're not going to the low end of our range. So if you look at the next page, we have 5.75 cap rate, which is the lower end of our range. Part of that is that their rents are 1,024, line 13, which is not bad rents. So that's an older property, but I guess it's been relatively well maintained. So it does have some permanent deficiencies like the parking, air conditioning, and dishwasher. Line 13, the actual was 365. We decided to stabilize at the assessor at 368 because it was close. Then the assessor's workup, he agreed to 365. So that it's not very far apart, but the assessor kind of accepted the 365. But we were a bit generous by going with the assessor's rent so that there was no dispute there. We show the a couple of expenses in blue, merely to show that it's increased. So the insurance increased from 13,000. That's what we used from the last assessment, going up to 20. the gas went from 23,000, 19, and 34,000. So that made the total utilities going up. So we stabilize repair and maintenance at 2062, and we have the breakdown on the next page. So we show the year. There's no breakdown in the financial statements we got for 2022. There's no breakdown. Prior years, the statements from Sussex gave breakdowns. So therefore, we stabilized at the 3-year average 2019 to 2021, excluding the high year 2022. And the financials, we can maybe have just a quick look, is that page 27, that's the financials they have, just the accountant type financials with no details. And then page 28 is the prior years to give details for the repair and maintenance. So that therefore we have no detail of what the repair and maintenance was for the last year. So we stabilized at the prior 2 years. So now going back to our page with the income approach. So line 13, we show that the rents in 2023 did not go up much over that. 2023 is after the reference year. We should not be looking at, but they had high repair maintenance 2022, so I thought I'd check the 2022 rents, and they're pretty much in line what they had for 2022. So our net income, line 33 is 162,000, and the assessor did some exercise 182, 183. I believe we should go with our site specific. He's using an average of 2 years, but the expenses in 2022 increased, the insurance increased, the utilities increased. So there's certain ways that we have default. So normally we have the last year, most current year for certain expenses like insurance, utilities, and taxes. Caretaker, we use averages for some of the smaller items and for repair maintenance, but we don't average everything. So we have the normal site-specific stabilization of expenses, which I believe we should go with. And if we divide by 5.75 cap rate, the value comes to 2,826,000, and that's my evaluation.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wong, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No questions.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I have a couple questions actually, and it might be I might be off base here, but your NOI, does that on your page 16, does that include the stabilized amounts? Yes, correct?
I've stabilized each item under subject stabilize.
Right, gotcha.
I stabilize each items in 2020 to 2022 are actuals as reported.
Mhm.
And so that it shows that the last column shows the remarks as to how we stabilize, like management 5%. Some of the small items that tend to be erratic, like professional fees and office, we went with the average, and advertising, those are small. And waste and snow, we usually go average because that can be erratic. And you showed some other items are based on last year, like insurance, utilities, taxes, and caretaker. Actually, caretaker, we went with 2023 because it went up for some reason. And it went up to 42,000 for the next year. Nevertheless, we used the average 3 years. So I think we were a bit generous there by going with the average on the caretaking.
Okay, thank you. And this building looks like it's had some fairly regular maintenance, but nothing astronomical. Is there a reason why you went with 5.75 as your cap rate instead of going with your age range that you normally do 6.1 or 6.6?
Yeah, usually we stay with within the range. This one I went lower. have done that for a few properties, especially those that have rents above the $800-900. So if they're the $800-900 rent, I would go with the 6.10. This one came to 1,024. So I figured, well, they have better rents and they're fairly well maintained. So an old building with some deficiencies or permanent deficiencies. So we have to allow for its age, but they're still a relatively good area, relatively good rent. And I went with less than our normal cap rate.
Thank you. That's all my questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Penner, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I just have one. You had mentioned that the sale reported on the assessor's documents was non-arm's length, and I just wondered if you had any additional information regarding that transaction.
No, that's what we had on our spreadsheet. The sales questionnaire says it was non-arm's length and not an open market transaction. No, I didn't include the questionnaire itself. Maybe I should have, but it's not part of my evidence.
That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My questions have been asked. So we will move on to the, oh, sorry, is there a need for a summary from either party?
Yeah, maybe a quick one for me. I mean, the sale price that was at $3,650,000 was a sale price that was indicated in the mailer, and then there's also the sworn value of $3,450,000, which I feel is in line with the current assessed value at $3,700,000. So considering that, I guess I ask that you maintain the assessed value at $3,765,000.
Thank you. Mr. DuPont?
Oh, so it appears that the sworn value was less than the sale price, and not a reason for you to disregard the sale price. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we can move on to the next matter on this evening's docket, which is 50 Roslyn Road. I believe this matter has a late submission. Is that correct, Ms. Sharma?
Yes, we do have a late submission of evidence on this particular matter.
Okay, so we will go in camera to decide if we will hear the
For sure.
accept the new evidence.
Who was late? The assessor?
No, the late submission submitted by you today, the
Oh,
part.
by me.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So part of it, if it's new information, you can discard, but when it's recalculating evaluation, I believe you normally allow. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss. Just leave it with us and we need to discuss
Okay,
it.
thanks.
Thank you very much. We have had a lengthy discussion regarding the late submission evidence and have decided that we will accept it today. So, Mr. Wong, please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you. The subject property is 50 Roslyn Road. The file number is 24-2287. The roll number is 120-324-78500. The roll year is 2025, and the assessed value is $4,722,000. This is a residential apartment that's 4 stories high. It's built in 1992, and it has 36 suites with 40 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. It's located in the heart of the Osborne area. On page 4 is our income valuation summary. We use average rents of $1,165 to get a potential income of $503,000. We use a 3.2% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $487,000. And we used a 48% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $252,000. Capped at 5.35%, we have an estimated market value of $4,722,000, which is about $131,000 per unit. On page 5 is are some rent comparables showing that the rents we've used are in line with what's in the market or a little bit below market. On page 6 are some CMHC rent comparables. The subject property is affordable housing owned by the Winnipeg Housing and Rehabilitation Corporation. So I feel that it's using sort of affordable housing or not-profit income or expenses would result in an inaccurate estimate of value. So going to the market for income and expenses would lead to a more accurate estimate of market value. And on page 6 are some indications of market rents from as indicated by CMHC. So looking at the market rents from CMHC, when you consider properties that are built between a certain age of 1975 and 1989, and when you take CMHC market rents from CMHC Zone 1, the indicated market rents from CMHC would yield a rent potential of 652,000. And so basically the model rent potential at about 503,000 is well supported by the CMHC market rent potential of 652,000, which is about 29% higher. On page 7 is information on how we derived our cap rates. And on page 8 are some cap rate sales that range from 3.46 to 5.74%. You can see on the cap rate sales chart that some of the properties outside of the core area of Winnipeg, they might sell for about 100,000 a unit to about 125,000 a unit, and I've typically seen units sell for about 150,000 a unit. So with some core area properties value ranging from about 60 to 90,000 per unit. On page 10 is the income and expenses submitted by the owner. Once again, it's from Winnipeg Housing and Rehabilitation Corporation. On page 12 are the CMHC market rents for a certain age category and for a certain location, being Zone 1. So to conclude, this is affordable housing, and we value this as if it was a below average apartment unit by using rents that are below market and using an expense ratio that is a little bit higher than market. Looking to the market to value this property, the model rents are supported by rent comparables and by the CMHC market rents, and they also suggest that the market rents are higher. The model expenses at 48% are reasonable, especially considering that the building is a 1992 building, which is there's a lot of buildings that are much older than 1992. The model cap rate is supported by market sales. And when you look at the overall value at about 131,000 a unit, it's reasonable considering that smaller and older units might sell for about 100,000 to 150,000 a unit. So I feel that the assessed value is well supported, and I ask that you maintain the assessed value at 4,722,000.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dupont, do you have any questions for Mr. Wong?
Yes. So the cap rate that you have, is there any premium in there for the fact that it's a social housing?
No, we've reflected the social housing aspect, the affordable housing aspect by using rents that are much lower than market and expenses that are a little bit higher than market.
No, you say expenses higher than market. 48% expense ratio, is that on the low side? Don't they come somewhere between 50 and 60 normally?
No, I mean, I think buildings in this age, they might come in at about 45%. And actually the Altus cap rate study, there is no expense ratio that is above 48%. So I feel that the 48% is pretty reasonable for a 1992 building.
Do you have any evidence for your 48% expense ratio?
I haven't provided any, but like I said, the Altus cap rate study has expenses that range from 33 to 48%. So it definitely be on the very high end of the range as it relates to the Altus cap rate study.
So now your page 5, where you get your market rent comparables. Was there anything done to the model to actually give it a below average condition or something to that effect that would make the rents lower because of some kind of condition or quality that you put on the model?
Yes, we are able to reflect if we had two properties are similar or in construction, and say one property performs substantially better than the other, we do have the ability to reflect that in our attributes.
Did this model for this property, for this assessment, was it changed in any way, or did you just went with the strict regular model?
It was the model, but it is reflected. It is reflected as a below average apartment building.
So the model did not reflect below average, but you say it's reflected. How is it reflected?
You can see that the rents are lower than what market might indicate, and the expenses are a little bit higher than what I might typically see for a 1992 building.
There again, you don't have any proof for your expenses and the rents are below market
I have
because
not provided any evidence.
they are social housing. They are charging less than market. Okay. Now, but when you do your comparables on page 5, those comparables support the rent of 1165 that you have?
They're, I guess, noticeably higher than what the model is applied.
Now, would your market comparables be better than Shimichi averages?
I'm not sure.
And would you agree that normally the rents that you give for social housing is about 70 to 75% of CMHC rents? Isn't that a normal thing?
I would say that we typically treat affordable housing properties. The rents typically applied are a little bit lower, and the expenses are a little bit higher, as is in this case.
Your model does not treat social housing differently for expense ratio. Would you agree to that?
I don't think I would agree with that.
And so are you saying the model actually gives a higher expense ratio because it's social housing?
Like I said, if a property performs poor below average, then we have the ability to reflect that in our attributes. And so, like I said, you could have two properties that are identical, but if one property performs substantially better than the other, we have to be able to reflect that in our system, and we do that.
The question still remains, did you adjust, does the model adjust expense ratio for social housing in general?
It's based off of the attributes, and in this case, yes.
And you think the model did that?
Yes, because you can look at the rents that have been applied. They're noticeably below market. If this was a normal apartment building, the rents would be much higher than what has been applied.
Oh, and I'm not saying compare with actual expense ratio because the lower social housing rent should not be used to calculate expense ratio. I'm just saying the expense ratio you apply to your market rents. Did the model for this property have higher expense ratio because it is social housing?
We don't have a social housing aspect to our attributes. We only have the ability to indicate how, if it might perform better or worse or really well compared to your typical apartment building. And so we have made that addition to this property. This property is treated as if it was a below average apartment building. And like I said, the rents that have been applied are below what market rents might be for like 2 and 3 bedrooms in this area. And so I feel that we have reflected it. I feel that the model has reflected it. And That's what seems to be indicated here.
Okay, and page 5, your rent comparables. The first two, 40 Osborne and 59 Wilmot, are in Osborne Village. Would you agree that the 179 Grant and 850 Scotland are in the Grant Park Shopping Center area?
They are slightly farther away, but I believe they are in the similar area.
40 Osborne, if you look gross floor area per suite, 1,800 square feet per suite, and the subject's 1,279. Should you agree that this property is not comparable because it has such large suites?
The suites are a little bit larger. That's one comparable. If you look at all the other comparables, I feel that it sort of balances things out because the other comparables have 1,000 square feet per gross floor area unit, and compared to the subject's 1,278, 1,279, and comparable number 3 and 4 are 958 square feet and 982 square feet. So 300 square feet less than what the subject model is.
No, 50 Wilmot, 59 Wilmot, the effective age 1982 instead of 1962, so it has been rehabbed or renovated. And that's why it have a different effective age.
Typically, that would be the case.
850 Scotland, do you know whether it has been rehabbed also?
I'm not aware.
Subject has no air conditioning. Do these 4 comparables have air conditioning?
I'm not sure.
Subject has only 47% parking. Do you know whether these properties are below 100% parking or they have fully parking?
I'm not sure, but typically, whether it's 1-to-1 or not, I'm not sure how much that affects things.
1179 Grant, I believe, has underground parking. Would that make it a superior building?
It would. It just means that they would have a little bit more parking income.
But your comparable rents is total full income, including parking and laundry. Is that correct when you compare?
I don't believe those ones include parking and laundry.
The subject property 1165 includes parking and laundry, right? And you're showing your comparables, you're not taking the effective gross income, you're actually just taking the rents before parking.
I believe so,
involved.
yes.
It's all questions. I do have a rebuttal on this.
Ms. Anderson, do you have any questions for Mr. Wong?
I have no questions at this time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Penner, do you have any questions?
No questions for me, thank you.
Okay, I do not have any questions at this time. So, Mr. Dupont, please proceed with your presentation.
Can I give my rebuttal now?
No, you can make your presentation and then give your rebuttal.
Okay. Okay, so I guess we'll go to the brief first. I changed the income approach. We can do that later. So the page 2, we show the photos that it has. It's mid-rise, and you'll see there a lot of the windows are open, the flaps are open, and people do that because they have no air conditioning. There's no wall air conditioning sticking out. There's no window air conditioning either. We have some other photos from other angles, also no air conditioning shown. So that it has no air conditioning. we showed the aerial photo as to where it is. It has parking in the back and has exterior parking. And it has only 47 parking, I believe. It'll be shown on our spreadsheet. Now, under income approach for page 13, we start by saying the cap rate on social housing. We have a lot of stuff on social housing, and then we have the appendix, a lot of decisions and a lot of information on that. So they have low income tenancy in the social housing, so they have usually basic finishes, and most of the time they don't have air conditioning. And so they have the low income tenancy, so therefore quite often they don't keep up the requirements as well as the for-profit properties. There's decisions that we quote, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but if we can go to the appendix. Now we start with a decision on page 22. Those are older decisions that we had, so it's been existing for a long time, where the municipal board has been giving a premium for social housing. But we had a new decision, November 2024, that is shown towards the end. So I'll find it. So that it starts page 39. That's 355 Sutton, hearing of July 2024, 2020 appeal. The description of the property is page 41. Consists of two 42,000 square feet buildings, built in 1972, and it had 78 apartments with two 1-bedroom, 56 2-bedroom, and 23-bedroom units. So they were not all social housing. It has a ton of bachelors, and this one did not. So the test case we had, we avoided having the bachelors where the board could have given a premium just for the fact that it had a lot of bachelors. This one did not. So it had 2 and 3-bedroom units. And I believe if you go to the last page, second last page, the page 16, the board decision, page 54, the last paragraph, the board will apply a 5.5% base cap rate and will add 0.25% for low income tenancy and 0.25% for functional obsolescence. So they added 0.5% premium for the fact that it has social housing, and functional obsolescence, I believe, is mainly due to the fact they have basic finishes, and they're usually different quality than you had on for profit. So we can leave this premium, and we can go to page 16. So there again, we quote the cap rates from their brokers. The session is usually 5.35. We're using 5.5. Our age group for 1990 to 2004 is 5.25 to 6. So we're going with 0.25% premium only over our base for the age group. And so the board municipal board has granted the 0.5% on this one. We went only with 1/4%. It is social housing, has no central air. It has 47% parking. Those are permanent deficiencies, but nevertheless, it's 1992 and it does have balconies. So for that reason, I gave it only a 0.25% premium over our cap rate, base cap rate. Page 17. You'll see that the rents that they have, line 13, is 243,000 for March 2023, and the session is 487. So it's about half of what the The city has a market rents. Now, if you look at line 5, they have high vacancy, 10.3% vacancy. The year before, 8.5% vacancy. So even at those low rents, they have a hard time keeping people coming in. You should take into consideration the vacancy. But nevertheless, I agreed with the assessors. Effective gross income, but I do think on the high side. Cap rate comparables are superior to the subject. CMHC statistics are not reliable, and most of their social housing assessments this year have been at 70 to 75%. That's a very blunt instrument to use CMHC. So I don't want you to have the impression that we fully agree with those rents. I believe they're on the high side. That should be part of the total decision. What we do defer on the expenses is that we stabilize the expenses on a site-specific basis. The assessor is not. They go with 48% expense ratio. I believe it's on the low side. Now, if you look at line 21, it was 46,000 for the 3 years, 52, and then 32. And I noticed that after submitting my report, and I did check, and then sure enough, the water was much higher in 2023. Because water is usually quarterly bills, it's possible, or happens often enough, that there's maybe only 9 months and that 1 year, and the next year has an extra 3 months, 15 months. So we have to watch water. If it becomes erratic, that's what they could have done. So the 3-year average is 43,000. We stabilized at 31. But when I do my revision, we'll go with the 3-year average. Repair maintenance, I also changed that a little bit, not that much, but there was an error that we had. So if you go to the next page, page 18. So if you look at repair maintenance, under remaining R&M, we show some specific items, and then what is not specifically shown, we usually show that remaining RM. And then we did not show anything for 2022. So after submission, I guess suspicious that maybe we were missing something there. So we show the towards the bottom, repair maintenance, less CapEx, less waste and snow. So there's no CapEx, there's only waste and snow. We have it as 54,000. Now, when we look at the financials that Kem provided in his report, you'll see that it's 109,000 and the 54,000 is clearly wrong. So we've adjusted that. In my submission, I forgot to include the financial statements, but we do have the 22 that is part of the assessor's report. So it is entered as evidence, and I would like to go to the assessor's report on this financial statements on page 10, if I can, at this point in time, just to show the error we made on the repair maintenance. So if you see page 11 of the assessor's brief, the repair maintenance shown, the total is 109,728. And then if you go to page before, that includes security, 4965, the about 6 item in. It includes a caretaker towards the 5th line, towards the bottom, 17,000 and 2,000. Snow and garbage is also those 2 items. So those 5 items to be removed for repair and maintenance is about 30,000. So if we remove 30,000 from the 109,000, we get 80,076. So that's what we have put in to our revised income approach. That's the evidence to show that. So can I go to the revised income approach at this point in time?
Yes.
Okay, so I've been through it in the regular evidence, and so that I changed two items only. The water, I've now changed to the 3-year average, and I show on the right-hand side that the original what I had was 31,750, so I changed that to 43 3 average. I show the 2023 amounts, and that you could potentially argue that is new evidence, or even after a reference year, and you could disregard that if you want. And I put it that because that's what I use to decide whether, in fact, I should be stabilizing that water or not. It's just a test. So that was a test that I did, and sure enough, the water had increased quite a bit, indicating that the water should be stabilized for 2022. The repair maintenance, I now have 71,582 stabilized, and it shows that originally I had 70,045. It's very little, it's not much, but it's correction error that I had. So the second page, the revised, it shows the remaining RM, which I had missing, is 25,708. And that changes because we're using 5-year averages. It changes the amount very small. It's a very small amount. But in blue, it shows that the CapEx, excluding waste and snow, and excluding the caretaker that they had in security, is in fact 80,076. So that makes it our revised expenses report, the repair maintenance. So then when we apply the cap rate of 5.5 to our revised net income, 177,000, we get a value. It's revised at 3,225,67. So rounded 3,226. So big difference is the expenses, because we agree with the effective gross income, even though it appears to be on the high side. And we have only 0.5% difference in cap rate, but they have not allowed for the fact it's social housing, and we do. That's my submission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wong, do you have questions for Mr. Dupont?
I do have the rebuttal though.
Yes, well, don't worry, I didn't forget.
Okay.
There, look.
Okay.
This-
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson, do you have questions for Mr. Dupont?
I do have one question. I think it's, can you go over, I'm sorry, this part, it confuses me every single time, so forgive me, but
Yeah.
on your page 2 of your altered or your
Yeah. Revised. Yeah.
revised, can you explain to me why there's 80,076 in CapEx for 2022, and then I guess, oh, that's the 5-year average, that is the 71, and that's the number that you used is the 5-year average?
Yeah. I've inputted the actual amount. That's from the next page. 80,076, and previously I had 54,000, which was an error.
Okay,
But that's the last year, 2022, but we used the 5-year average to stabilize each individual items.
okay,
So that, 5-year stabilize, and what we've stabilized each one is shown, so that it ends up we were stabilizing a 5-year average, and it's more accurate than before we had this small error.
okay. And this is affordable housing, as you've mentioned before. And again, I'm curious about how you selected your cap rate. Can you speak to that a little bit, please?
Yeah, for my main brief. Oh, I gotta find it now. It disappeared on me. I think I did lose it.
It's your page. I want to say, oh, I was going to say 10, but that's not quite right. A bit farther along.
Okay, I have to go back and get it again.
Page 13 of your main brief. And then page 16. I guess you're halfway in between for the age group of it, but it just seems with social housing you would have made more of an alteration to it. So I was just curious why. Maybe speak
Okay, so it's
5.5.
for that age group, we have 5.25 as the base and goes up from that.
Yeah,
Found my brief. And then we allowed a 0.25% premium for the fact that it's social housing and some of those negative features like low parking and no air conditioning.
gotcha. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. It's right there. I apologize. And that is it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Ms. Penner, do you have any questions?
My question was asked. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no questions at this time. So, Mr. DuPont, you may present your rebuttal evidence now.
All right.
What we've
Finally,
been
okay.
waiting for.
Before you proceed, Mr. Dupont, I just want to confirm if everybody has the rebuttal. You're in mute, Tracy. Miss Anderson, you're in mute.
I have it.
Okay,
Sorry, I'm just checking for it, Twinkle. Sorry.
okay, for sure. You can refresh your SharePoint, you can find it there. Madam Chair, do you have it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Assessor?
I do, thank you.
I do. I'm good. Thank you very much.
So I can proceed now?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I checked, one of the first things I do, I checked our rents at the 1314, whether it matches our files if we have any. So we have 1, 2, and 4 are our clients. We have the financial statements and they match the effective gross income, which would include laundry and parking. So I believe that figures that they have there are including laundry and parking. 40 Osborne, we'll show you the photos. Well, maybe look at the photos right now, the next page. Beautiful old apartment. And they have the enclosed balconies, so that it's been well maintained, and they have really high rents on this property because they didn't really renovate the property. They still have the character. Did not remove that. They still kept the hardwood floors and all that, and the wood moldings and all that, to give it the old character, but it's really well maintained. So they get really high rents for that property. And then the next one's 59 Wilmot. They have like a little park in front of it. So that's and it's a regular high rise, mid rise, I guess, towards the back of Wilmot. Then 1179 Grant, and it shows where it is. It's the Tiffany Towers. We probably all passed by that hundreds of times. And the map shows it's right in front of Grant Park Mall. So the excellent condition. So they tend to have high rents in that area, specifically for people that want to be close to that mall. 850 Scotland is shown there. It was also mid-rise with balconies, and it shows the location. It's not in front of the Grant Park Mall, but it's relatively close. So it's not in the Osborne Village. That was the first two. So back to page 2 of the rebuttal. So under 40 Osborne, I see it's Phoenix. The stabilized repair maintenance is 2,638. Extremely high repair maintenance. They're getting high rents because they're spending a lot of money on that. They have extra large suites because they have 1,800 gross square area per suite, so it's not comparable. They have enclosed porches. They have bay windows, and it's a character building. It's in the same area, and it's about the only thing that's similar. Comparable number 2, 59 Wilmot. That was completely renovated. That's why I have the effective age 1982. As renovated in 2012, 2013, has balconies, have wall AC, 100% parking, and subject has no AC and 47% parking. 1179 Grant, Tiffany Towers in front of Grand Park Shopping Center. It's a Shindico property. We don't have the financial statements, but we can look at their ads, and they have heated underground parking. They have central air compared to some of those that have all AC. That means every room is air conditioned. Vinyl plank, stainless steel appliances. It's been modernized to the new apartments with vinyl plank and stainless steel appliances. Also has the exterior pool. So not comparable whatsoever. 850 Scotland, that was totally rehabbed in 2011. We've done the appeals on that for years. They spent 12,000 per suite when they did the rehab in 2011. There was a sub issued in 2013. It has 17 indoor suites, so it's not all indoor, but they have 17 indoors, and the rest is outdoor. And that's my rebuttal I have on that. So we agree with the rents, but formally, but I believe they are on the high side. You should take that into consideration when you do the overall value. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wong, do you have any questions regarding the applicant's rebuttal evidence?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson, do you have any questions regarding the applicant's rebuttal evidence?
Are any of these other ones affordable housing, the comps?
Oh, no, they're all for profit. Yeah, it's
Okay.
all for profit. And we're usually market rent, so usually you have to go to comparables that are from for profit. So it would not be proper to get another affordable housing because it will have low rents also.
Understood. Thank you very much. That's it, Madam.
Thank you. Ms. Penner, do you have any questions for the applicant? Sorry, let me try again. Regarding his rebuttal evidence.
I do not. Thank you.
My question has been asked, so thank you. Mr. Assessor, do you have any rebuttal evidence?
I do not.
All right, thank you. Do either party have the need for a summary on this file?
Yeah, I just like to, I guess, say something quick. Just that I don't necessarily disagree with the approach that the applicant has taken in this. I think the approach is valid, but I think the approach that we've taken is valid in terms of looking at this using market parameters, below average apartment market parameters to try to value this property. Like, it results in a value that is about 131,000 a unit, and that's pretty much right in line with some of the comparable sales, which might range from about 98,000 a unit to 150,000 a unit, and those are for units that are older and smaller than the subject property. The subject property does have a decent gross floor area per unit, and so whereas the applicant's value is about 89,000 a unit, and that's sort of equivalent to units that are sold in the core area, which might range from about 60 to 90,000 per unit. So I don't necessarily, like I said, I don't necessarily disagree with the approach that the applicant has taken. I just feel that our estimate of value using market parameters is a little bit more accurate than what the applicant has presented. And I ask that you maintain the assessed value at $4,722,000.
Thank you very much. Mr. DuPont, would you like to make a summary?
Yes, the assessor's valuations on a per suite basis as it is related to a direct comparison approach. We're not doing direct comparison approach, and we should not be giving any weight to that whatsoever. Municipal board, I believe it was 1993 when they stopped using direct comparison for apartments, and that's when I was there, and I stopped using direct comparison approach way back then. So that his price per units, etc., has no bearing on this whatsoever. We should go with income approach. We agree with their rents, even though I believe they're on the high side. We're going site-specific expenses. The assessor is going with the expense ratio, and they have no statistics or anything to prove that. So therefore, their expense ratio has no proof whatsoever, and they have the burden of proof, which they lack. Their cap rate 5.35 is not that bad for that age. They should be allowing for a premium for being social housing. And I'm using 5.25 base plus 0.25%. So I believe our cap rate is quite reasonable in relation to the assessor and the fact that it's social housing. There's probably no argument there. So it's basically on the expenses. We're site specific. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, oops, sorry. We have heard all the matters and all the items scheduled this evening, and the hearing is now adjourned. So good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good evening.